Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest. But before I do that, here's a quote I picked just for this episode. A hero is no braver than an ordinary man, but he is brave 5 minutes longer. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Today I have a good friend coming back on the show, Michael Ferraro. Episode 111 of the Culture Matters podcast, season 10. Listen to that. Completely different conversation. For the last 8+ years, Mike's been crushing it in the real estate, quote unquote, game. But really, he's always been a teacher and a mentor and a leader showing the way, whether it was in the pool or out of the pool or investing or opening businesses. Thank you for coming back. So many things to talk about, and I appreciate you greatly, my man. And God, when I look at the YouTube videos of us from like 6 years ago, I think like, first of all, I think, how did he put up with me? And then I think like so much gratitude. So thanks for coming back, and it's good to see you.
I can say this, you are one of the best intros, one of the best friends, and the pure-hearted individuals that I know. I've seen you over the last couple of years transform yourself, even prior to the big Culture Matters push. So it's amazing to see how far you come, and you're also true to who you are. I mean, I'm not ashamed. I hope you're okay with saying it. I mean, you wrote me a letter, a handwritten letter. Anybody who's in your world, you really are a true person. Like there's a lot of people that do things just to network. There's a lot of people that do this stuff just to do it. But you are really a great person on and off these podcasts. So you're a good person and a great friend. So you've always been there for me, and I appreciate that, Jay.
Damn, I'm going to cry.
Don't, because we're gonna cry probably again, maybe on the episode. I don't know. We're gonna
there would just be crying for 20 minutes.
Don't do that.
God, I thank you. I meant what I said. So much. Okay, so first thing, let's just get the cat out of the bag. 2023 is a weird year. We're having a lot of conversations around uncertainty. So you're a person that I look at from a perspective like you went in the industry, a new industry, and you made it happen. Right now is a time where we're working really hard. The fruit is kind of not ripened yet. A lot of people are working really hard, and there's uncertainty. So my question is, what type of mindset or perspective are you bringing into this year? Where have you struggled? Where have you been strong? I guess that's why I picked the brave quote, right? I don't know. I see you as a brave person. So like, how do I have courage in this time? I'm the listener. I'm asking for myself. How do you look at that?
So this year for 2023, for the top brokers, top people in their industry, top people, I think that they're probably slower, but still doing just fine. But for everybody else who's building and grinding on the way up or trying to start, it's going to be very, very difficult just because of the economic times that we're in. So even in my area, if I'm selling real estate, I just have the lowest inventory that we've ever had. Thus, there's less sales that are going to possibly happen. Thus, if I don't already have a book of business, it's going to be extremely hard for me to build that using the same old ways in my industry. So the things that have worked in the past are not necessarily working anymore. And you're finding a lot of people try to figure out different ways. Where I think I'm a little different or have felt like I've had success is I did not ever want to be, or I was afraid of being a person who just continued to have somebody else make it happen for me. I just had to make it happen. So I looked at my specific world that I'm in and say like real estate and say hi in real estate. And when areas of lead gen slow down, like right now, there's more people selling more agents on more lead gen things than ever before. Because that's what happens. They need to, lead gen companies need to make their quota. So they sell more to the real estate agents. The agents don't have leads. So they need more of that. So there's more of stuff that's not really working. Where I looked at it and I said, okay, what in my business do the top brokers do really well? What have they've always had? And the biggest thing in our area is the network. It's actually being able to meet people and create authority in your space. It's very hard to do that if you trying to buy leads the last 4 or 5 years and you're resting on that. It's very hard to do that by just cold calling your way to the top. It's very hard to do it with mailers or flyers. So we're seeing the industry people in the leaders, and this is what I'm personally doing. I'm going to then not wait for something to happen. I'm going to do what I call reprogramming the market. I'm not going to wait for them to ask me a question. I'm just going to jump out as the trusted advisor. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that in your space. And I don't care if you're in the coaching world, the real estate world, you're selling cars, whatever. There's a group or people or population or tribe that's looking for information, and they're looking to work with certain people. You have to place yourself as the thought leader and as the advisor and as a place that people to go to. So for me, I said, well, I'm just going to be that person. So I'm going to create events, right? So let's take a location in the place that I want to be with the clientele that I want to be around, put the people around me that make me the authority in that space, because now it's social proof. Let's say, for example, I'm with an amazing architect and I'm with an amazing interior designer. And then they have me, and the narrator is the magazine that everybody reads, and it's at a location that everybody goes to in the place. And I have buyers, and they have sellers, and they have builders, and they have developers all in this space listening. Now I created this event. Now I get my time to shine. Now, when it's my time to speak, if I know what I'm talking about and I'm really good at what I do, right now I have a spotlight on me. So I just created myself as an authority by doing what? If you build it, they will come. I created it. I didn't wait for somebody to invite me to the event. I didn't wait for someone to make the connection. I didn't wait for that. And I'm kind of creating this. And I call that, for agents that I work with, called reprogramming the market. Essentially, if you know that you provide a service or a thing better than anybody else, and you really feel that, because that's what it starts. If you really can't do it, then you're not going to be able to really convey anything, right? If I know I can do this and I know I'm better suited than anybody else, I would be damned if I'm going to allow somebody who maybe is 30-year veteran, who just is there longer, who's not better for than what they do to versus me, or better for the client, but they're just happen to be there. So I just have to step down, right? I got to come. No, I have to reprogram the market for them to understand that there is a different solution. There is actually a better way. And we have to call out what the facts are. I know maybe you're a little bit nervous about using somebody who's newer. I know maybe you're a little bit nervous about what people around you are going to say. But at the end of the day, let's really break down what it is that's most important to you. Selling a property for the most amount of money. They use drones, we use drones. They have fancy cars, we have fancy cars. They have a network, we have a network. So what's the difference? Why am I best suited? Without making that public, without making that known, and making that message directly to the clientele you want to work with, and becoming the authority, and then also networking with the people that they are in networks with, how are you ever supposed to get ahead? You're not. So for the few people that understand this world and understand how to do that, you can reprogram the market. I put a PDF out that's for free for people, which is 7 steps in how I reprogram the market. One of these things is an event that we host and that I create, right? And again, it doesn't come off as fake, because this is actual true knowledge. I get with some of the top brokers in my area and I mix it up with them on a media platform, digitally. It's videoed, it's audio, it's in the magazines. People are physically live there. It's in question form, so they can stump you if you want, and you get to show your goods right then and there.
You shine in an environment.
Well, if you're asking somebody to be a supplement to a service, a car, a watch, a jewelry, fashion, or a house, do you want somebody who can convey the look, the knowledge, and can sell that product and be able to understand how the process works? Yes. So, but nobody will know that if they don't know who you are. And not everybody's Ryan Serhant. You're going to do $250 million property tours. And nobody really even understands how to function in that world, or even how to work a network. And I realized that the top brokers, they have an immense network. They know everyone. But here's the bottom line. It's 3 things, right? They have an immense network. They know everybody. 2, they are actually, they can do the thing, right? They have 30 years of credibility. They've done it before. They've done it. And 3, and this is the biggest one, they're just there. They're just there. That's what people don't understand is, why does that person get all listings? Well, they've literally been there for 20 years. They're just there. They shop at the same stores. So in your $250,000, $350,000 market that you work and sell in, let's say you're an agent, you're a broker, and you want to sell in those price points, and you kids go to school in that area, and you're just going to probably eventually pick up business because you're just there. The bar of being great is less about like, I do the same thing you do, but I'm just there more and people know who I am. So if you want to work in high end or you want to work in these markets, you have to be there. And then if you want to leapfrog 30 years of credibility and 30 years of selling real estate, how do you beat them? Is by being and doing what I said, reprogramming the market, having them see you, hear from you, understand you, you become the authority. And it doesn't matter what business that you're in. If I want to be the best coach consultant, right, I can just do a lot of my same old stuff, maybe put out a couple things here and there, or I can go directly to the top and figure out a way so that the people that I want to work with see me in that light, and then provide them with what that is that they're looking for. You actually have to provide value. Like you can't just physically be there and not provide value.
Can you kind of unpack how to go about that so that those that don't have it realize they don't and they need to go get that?
What in what way?
The value piece, the competence piece, like just so like, can you just unpack a little bit of what you've done to work on your competence? So
well, I mean, I would, it goes back to one of the first things that I ever did in the business was like, okay, I want to understand it better than anybody else. I knew I could not understand the neighbor that was at 123 Main Street on that road. I couldn't beat the person who has 30 years of experience because 123 Main Street, who was a $10 million daughter, might have gone to school with this other agent's daughter. So how do I beat that relationship? I can't beat that relationship. It's impossible. However, I can beat the knowledge of how to take a high-end product and sell it for the most amount of money. So now what I'm doing is I'm creating a contrast of like, well, I know this person, I'm a seller. I know this person and they have social proof with me and trust because I know them and everything. But at the same time, this guy's making sense. And I think I might actually make some more money with this person. So now I'm stuck. And in the beginning, you're giving people like 50-50, like what, man, I mean, maybe I'll give this guy a shot. And it only takes a couple more shots. And now you have the value and the social proof to do that. But being able to have that conversation means you had to have studied everything I could on how to market, everything I could on how to sell, everything I could about how my market works and selling within my market. Who are my buyers? What's a strategic plan, 4-step plan from start to finish to take something, bring something to market, target, find a buyer, get them, and then get them to spend the most amount of money as possible.
What type of hours were you putting in the beginning?
Yeah.
And
it was in
the
beginning, any minute that I had that it wasn't with my kids or taking care of my kids and my wife was put into that. I mean, I would have two folders. The first folder on the left was all about sales and objection. I had no sales experience. So I had been a kindergarten teacher and a swim coach. So it's not like I came from a sales background. I didn't know anybody in sales. So I didn't understand how the thing worked. And I didn't understand psychology. I didn't understand objections. I didn't understand any of these things, not on the phone or in person. I didn't understand do a listing presentation. So on one hand, it was grinding to understand that as fast as I could. On the other hand, what I did is a whole folder on how to sell high-end items. Now, this is marketing targeted wise and marketing mass, understanding the difference between the two. How to take a super high-end $450 million painting that sold. How does an auction house work to sell a property? Now, how does it, or to sell a painting? And how would you sell it as an individual in real estate? And how does that game work? And I realized really quickly, it's outdated. The real estate game of how you actually sell a real estate is ridiculous. Like, wow. I'm just going to pick a number that we all can come up with. I'm going to place it on this platform, and then I'm going to wait and hope somebody likes it. And then there's a whole connection that happens after. And that's our business. There's no pre-marketing targeted that goes through. Nobody's buying data. Nobody's doing any of the analytics. Nobody's actually trying to figure out specifically a price point to be selected based off of percentage of time on market, likelihood to sale. They're not doing any of that. And in the last couple of years, it doesn't even matter anymore because everything sells for more. But this is what I studied. I was trying to figure out if somebody said to me, I'll give you 90 days to sell a property that took somebody else 4 years to sell. You got 90 days. You got to be successful. Everything I had to do was about trimming the fat down that I could not miss. I had to hit it out of the park, and I had a very short amount of time to do it. So I took as much of the learning curve and I condensed it, because that's the timeline I was given. I wasn't given years. I've never taken a year listing in my life. Never going to, because now what I know, why would you ever, if you need a year to sell a property, something is seriously wrong. And I don't care how expensive it is. We've missed the boat big time. Somebody somewhere on either pricing or marketing has missed the boat completely. And if you say, well, then there's no buyers for the product, that's a different story. There's always a buyer for the product, but it's just a matter of then where do we price it? But if you need a year for why? Oh, the broker needs a year to market it so that it sits around, and then a year to convince you to do price reductions. That means that you didn't do your job as a broker, either on the consultation or understanding what business you're in. Like, in what world does that help a seller to be on the market for a year?
Do you think that you had some level of edge because you came in without the bias and you were willing to put in the work?
Yeah, I didn't come into it with my parents being in the business and being told like, this is how this works. I came into it like, I got to make the business work for me. So I was like, I'm going to take any of these rules that people have and ways they go about it traditionally, and I'm just going to bend this to my will. And I still kind of do that. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's really hard. You get kicked in the teeth a lot. Some people make decisions to go different directions, and that's totally fine and normal. But I just didn't confide to or kind of bow down to what the basics of the market is. My goal was to get here as fast as I can. And then it's like, okay, what's the steps? And you learn things along the way. You make mistakes. I fell into like the growing a team thing. I fell into doing a lot of other things because I sometimes when you don't have this and you start looking to the right and to the left and what they're doing, it's easy to get caught up in that.
How important is focus, and how do you stay focused?
Focus for me is probably the single biggest thing. I can fall. I can have, if you didn't talk to me for 2 or 3 weeks about, if I didn't stay mentally focused, I'd have 8 different businesses and they'd probably all fail, but I would just want to go in that direction because I have enough energy that if you have a good enough idea, I'll have enough here to get there, but I didn't plan it all out. So, sorry. But I won't have enough bandwidth to finish it all the way through. And that's what, as I'm getting older, I'm learning that, there's so many great books out there that I've read that have changed the way I look at things, even just lately.
What are some, that you would give?
Just lately, the ones I've picked up that I really taken to was, I love Who Not How.
Dan Kennedy? No, Dan.
Yeah.
Sullivan?
Yep. I can't remember his last name, but it's Dan something. Awesome book. Just great. I'm on Rocket Fuel right now.
Gino Wickman.
Great books.
What importance did, unpack that. Sorry.
For which one?
Rocket Fuel?
Rocket Fuel, I just started, but even the beginning of the idea of already doing what I thought, which is basically the visionary versus the implementer, which is what it's all about. And that's the same kind of thing with Who Not How. But with Who Not How, it's the principle, the philosophy of just getting out of your own way. And I think they also try to break down, they don't come out and say it, but they try to break down the scarcity mindset that happens sometimes around hiring the who's. Nobody really talks about that, right? It's like,
can you unpack that? What do you mean?
Yeah. So let's say I have however much in my bank account, and I know I need to hire somebody. So you can hire the person that you think can do a job based on your budget, or you can stretch a little bit, make yourself uneasy, and maybe have an opportunity to do a knock out of the park job. Everybody's tolerance for that risk is different. So depending on your own personal stuff, which we can talk about how everybody unpacks their own stuff through breath work and things like that, I just went through, they're going to make a decision based off of that. And that decision could set them back a couple of years. could be the wrong decision. It could be the right decision. It could shoot them up to the top. So a lot of it comes down to, if you're smart enough to put yourself in the right lane and you're smart enough to understand what the next direction should be, then it comes down to whether or not if you're going to take an actionable item in which, so like, do I go right or left? Okay, I've made the decision. Right is correct. Now I'm right. Now I have another right or left. And every single time you choose a direction, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. The big picture items are like, I love to sell real estate. I know I need help. I know I need a director of operations. I know I need that. Okay, now I have a budget. Do I get the $100,000 person, the $35,000 person? And it gets tighter and harder to make the decision, because now your own insecurities start to come in, especially when you're talking about money and who you're going to hire.
So you mentioned something that you are doing or have done to help you with this process, and you're saying breath work. Can you unpack that?
Yeah. So we talked about Colton Lindsay and the WGR. I went to Colorado Springs for.
Shout out to Colton, been on the show.
Yep. Awesome
I wish
guy.
I knew the episode offhand.
He's awesome. He runs WGR, and he has this whole, he has a mastermind event that he threw. And I was like, I'm doing it. It was my birthday. I said to my kids, I got to go out there. I don't know why. I just have a calling to go out here to this thing. I have to do it. And I've been working with him for about a year in the group, and I hadn't done what I was supposed to do within that group. And that was on me. And that's more because I was just not, I was just not committed to it the way I should have. But I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit. I'm going to get on a plane on my birthday, say goodbye to my family, pack a bag, go out to Colorado with people I have no idea, stay at this beautiful place, and just try to figure out what this business mastery, the whole thing is. And I was having a lot of trouble because I couldn't figure out what direction I wanted to go in, and you get stuck. And a lot of people are out there for the same reason. They're stuck. And so we did a lot of amazing things. There was amazing speakers, and we zip lined through the Rocky Mountains. It was all amazing. But I still felt like, and you write a lot, which is great. And people there are the group that he has is unbelievable. He's unbelievable. They're so supportive. They're so great. I was blown away. But I still felt stuck as to the direction I wanted to go. And I started to write things down. I kept coming back to this idea of like, I can't decide where I want to go because I'm afraid of something. I don't know. I was afraid. I was like, I'm afraid of making a mistake. I'm afraid of not making the right choice and putting a lot of people at jeopardy. And I can't make a mistake. So I made no choices. Like I would make no choice because I didn't want to make a wrong one either way. So they said, we're going to do this breath work. And I'm like, all right, I don't really know what this is. And everybody's like, we've done this a couple of times. This is going to change your life. This is going to be like one of those mushroom kind of experiences where you're going to go to another world. I'm like, okay, this is sure. But we go there, and I go in this room, and there's all of us, and we take pillows and blankets, and everybody's stretching. Like, this is like ready to run a marathon. I'm like, what's going to happen? They're like, something's going to happen with your body. You're going to feel like you want to stop. There's always going to be weird things, but push through. Now have an idea of where you want to go with it. And you're going to have an amazing experience if you just play all out. Don't stop. Just keep going. Okay. I'm like, I'm an all-American swimmer. I know pain. I could push through it. I'm not really worried about that. I'm like, but what is this? So they start off, we do these physical moves. If you've ever seen Wim Hof, it's a lot of that breathing. The lights go down. There's a DJ. They're playing this whole thing. There's 29 of us. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just play all out. I'm just going to do this. So I start this breathing mantra the way we're going, and I'm hearing people, I hear it. It's intense. And a minute, two into it. And now the whole time I'm thinking, I got to get answers. I got to think about my family. I got to think about wealth. I got to think about how the journey is going to be. I got to think about all these different things, right? Because that's what I'm looking for, is the end result, the answer. I'm going there because I'm going to find the light, right? The vision. And a minute, two into it, my neck's tingling, my arms are tingling, my legs and feet are tingling. And probably 25 minutes into it, now I am fully cramped. I mean, I'm locked. I am locked. It is painful. Like, and I starting to hear people screaming. I'm like, what am I doing? And my brain's like, stop. And he keeps saying, like, don't just push. You're going to want to stop. You're going to want to stop. I just kept pushing. I'm hearing people do all crying, yelling. 30, 40 minutes, I think, into this thing. I'm breathing, doing the breath work. I'm hyperventilating. I'm all over the place. Everything's hurt. It is so much pain. And I'm just laying there. And I'm thinking, I want to stop. I'm trying to think in my mind. My brain's trying to pull something out. And I'm like getting frustrated that I cannot. I'm thinking of my wife, my kids, and I can't lock on anything. I can't go anywhere. And it's just weird feeling now. And I'm realizing that I'm breathing really heavy. Like I'm convulsing, like my body's like moving. And then I feel Colton come over. He puts his hand on my chest and he said something like, this is all for you. This is all for you. Everything that happens is happening for you. This is all for you. And he's just happy. He's like in a good voice. And it was like this, boom. I go to a place, then I feel no pain. Just like I'm having this conversation with you, I see myself as 8 years old. I'm on the baseball field. I struck out at a pitch, and I had a life growing up where athletics and the way I was treated if I didn't do well young was very hard. Socially, it was pretty rough. But I see me and I am so scared. I'm looking back at me and my 8-year-old self is right there. And I'm just going to him and I'm looking around. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Like, and I take him and we like hang out and it feels like forever. And we're just talking. And I'm like, it's going to be all right, buddy. Like I'm giving him life lessons now to him.
Huh.
He's looking back at me and it was like surreal. And like, just seeing how scared he was of everything and how I had to like explain things but it's me. And then like I see then when I say goodbye to him, my kids kind of come into the picture and we're having a conversation about that kid. They're like, who's that? And I'm telling them, dude, I woke up right after just tears and tears. And I'm like, what was that? And then we have a notepad next to us. And man, I wrote 1,000 miles an hour at whatever was here. My brain was just going to, and it started off small. And then at the end, it was like in 2 minutes, it was big, huge words, like impactful one word sentences.
Huh.
And then we all kind of came down and we started to talk about it. And, I would say that what I said was, I have 2 questions. Like, what was that? And I talked about my experience. And then I said, why if I wanted to have this happen, why did I get that? What was that? And they were like, that's how it works. You don't choose. You can't override your subconscious when you're in that state. You can't just make it happen. That's what they tell you. Don't fight it. Like, let it go. And when I wasn't fighting it, no more pain. And I went to a place where I guess that's where I am at. Just a scared 8-year-old making decisions, scared of what people were going to think, scared of failing. And I went to that place. And I don't know what'll happen if I do it again. It's been definitely interesting. It feels surreal. Like when I came back from that, I was kind of like, and then you come into real world and things start happening. You go back into old patterns, things happen easily. But I will say that I have to go back there and I have to do that again. And I think that if not only physically back to Colorado, but I have to do that stuff again. And if I ever get a chance, and I do those breath works again, once you clear something, I'm sure you're going to go to the next thing and the next thing until you can kind of get to the point, because there's people there who were so happy and so joyous and like screaming like they're on a roller coaster. And I was like, why are they doing that? I'm not getting that opportunity. Why are they having that feeling? I'm not. And they said that there's a lot of times when, like I said to those people, how many times have you done this? They're like, this is my 6th time. I'm like, is this what it was like every time for you? They're like, no, I had some times and it was not great. It was not a great, happy experience, but it took time to get here. So I'm like, okay. It makes, when I'm making a decision now, I have to lay out it and say, is the way you're thinking and the fear and your anxiety that's keep coming up, because I can't stop it a lot of times from coming up. Is this stuff me, or is this stuff a product of something? So that was the experience. And this goes to making a decision on an assistant or whatever it is. So that was my story.
Mike, thank you for sharing. It makes me think of Kierkegaard. Life can only be understood backwards, but must be lived forwards. In closing, what do you, being that the audience may not have an opportunity at this juncture to be there with you in that room yet, what are you urging them to think, do, feel, and move forward in this time?
I mean, if you're going to go the route of trying to, I mean, a lot of times, everybody in that room that I was there are they're high earners, they're high workers, smart people. They gotten to a point in their career because obviously they've worked for it and they're smart and they can do that. And obviously this also leads to a smart enough thing of like trying to figure out why it is that the exploration of the self and stuff. And I don't remember what the statistic was, but it's a very low amount of people who actually go through with the work that's needed to kind of work on yourself. Doesn't mean that you try to take away the things that make you who you are, like the driving factors that created you to be an overachiever, to work really, really hard. Those are okay. What the problem is when those things turn inward and they become toxic, like anxiety, and you can't work and you can't make decisions. Those are the things you need to go and fix. And what I realized that is a lot of times in our families and our lives where it's generational, right? Our parents learn from the grandparents learn from their grandparents, and it's the way that they were raised or the social norms. And a lot of times, finding yourself and going to the Colorado mountains was not a norm for my great grandparents. So they passed down a lot of things to my parents, and then right all the way down to everything, right? So we've had a lot of generations of people that have passed down some bad coping skills and like how not to deal with stuff. And maybe if they dealt with their things, I would have been dealt with differently. And I don't say change it, because if I would have changed it, I might have not come up the way I came up and been working on being successful, that sort of thing. So, I think if you get the opportunity to look at yourself and figure out, okay, I'm making or not making decisions a certain way. Like, why is that? Like, I'm a smart person, I can do things, but I'm choosing to not make good decisions, or I'm choosing the wrong path, or I'm not motivated the way I should, or not. Like, what is it? What the heck happened to me that's stopping or not going in that direction? And if you can get to the bottom of it, a lot of times you can rework that. It's a lot of work. It's not easy, but I encourage anybody that to go through life and not try to work on that, I think it would be wrong for me. I think everybody, I don't care what line of work you're in, I don't care how successful or not successful that you're in, we all want to have a great life and be happy. And if we're having things that are stopping us from being happy, and you have the ability to use things like breath work and understanding or talking to somebody to try to figure some stuff out, and it's good for you and your family or business, I don't know why you wouldn't do that. And that's, so I would take away, learn the tactics in your business, but also learn about yourself a little bit, because at the end of the day, that's it. You're only working with you. You are everything. So, yeah.